Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. So this week I'm doing a little bit of a different book review, maybe books, but I want to walk you through my journey as a marketer, as an executive leader through these books and why it's important to understand this very important concept, which is not to be better, but to be first, right? So let's start back 2014. I read this book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. This is the Bible of marketing, in my opinion. This was written over 40 years ago by Al Ries and Jack Trout. And these are very easy rules of marketing to memorize. And they're very intuitive. The first two laws of this book, the law of leadership and category, have to do with being first and being the only one, right? Not necessarily being the best, right? Now, people who are engineers don't like when I say this, but the idea in business is that it's not enough to be best, because when you try to be the best at the beginning, then customers get confused because this company says they're the best, that company says they're the best. Well, so if everybody was the same, that's when things start being compared, and that's where pricing comes into play, features, benefits, and you don't want to get into that battle. It's a losing one. That's not where legendary billion-dollar unicorns are made. After I read this, right around, I think, 2014, 2015, I read this classic, Crossing the Chasm, which has to do with the technology adoption curve. And the thing that I focused my career on is this very first part of the chasm, right, where you're dealing with innovators and early adopters. Now, the important side about this to understand is that people make the mistake of going to the large majority, which are more pragmatic. They want a full solution. They don't care about your engineering project. They don't care about your company, and they're not looking for novelty, right? They just want something that works, right? And so finding those early adopters, those innovators, pioneers who are going to embrace your product, right, and spread awareness of it, and more importantly, adoption, right, is hard. And that starts by being not better, but different, by novelty. And even if you look at the older book on technology adoption, which is Diffusions of Innovations, the main thing when it talks about all these different things, such as the spreading of certain medications in rural countries, or even hybrid corn, it has to do with these early adopters seeing something new and different that gets them excited. But it's hard to find those early adopters because some people who are early adopters for one technology, they're not going to be early adopters for other ones, right? And so that's an important thing to keep in mind, right, is finding those early adopters, because those are the ones who are going to help improve the product, right? They're going to spread awareness peer-to-peer. They're going to be proponents of change, and they're going to embrace it, right? Because that's how you improve the product to be the better and then the best in class, so you can own that majority share of the market. Now, this is where things get interesting, because I was obsessed with this idea of category creation. That's where I came across the group at Play Bigger. Play Bigger is a category design firm, and they did a lot of research and pulled data from a variety of different places. I highly recommend you go to their website to download these case studies. And they found that the companies that go and create their own category, again, being different, being first, being new and novel, those are the ones that become billion-dollar successes, right? And when they look at the market share of all these big category kings and queens, right, they realize that they own, on average, about 73% of the value and market share in those given markets. Think about Amazon. Think about Netflix. Look, when I say electric car, you think Tesla, right? When I say streaming, you think Netflix. There's other companies that do that, but why did you think about those ones? Is it because they do it better, or is it because they were first? Because when somebody is first and brands against that and evangelizes the problem, right, that's when you start getting ownership. And the idea around category creation has to be done across three areas of competition. Your company, which is how do you do sales and marketing, how does your company function? Product, which is your product really good, does it work? And the third one, which everyone forgets about, is the creation of the category. The three of those, as Play Bigger says, the category triangle, have to be done. And the last one, and this is the most recent, is Christopher Lochhead and Heather Clancy's book, Niche Down, How to Become Legendary by Being Different. Now, Christopher Lochhead was part of the early group at Play Bigger. He has one of the best marketing podcasts that I've come across, because most of them aren't that great. I love his. He's got a fantastic sense of humor and extremely seasoned executive. And Niche Down is about once you niche down that category, right? If you're in a category, let's just say it's robotics, right? And you want to niche that down into something like surgical robotics, right? Or something similar to that, right? How do you own that category? Because it is quite a process to evangelize the problem. Think, perfect example, look at Mark Benioff. So 20, 30 years ago, I date myself, but when CRM was a thing, Siebel Systems was number one, and they had on-premise CRM. And Mark Benioff came along and said, yeah, CRM is really important, but you want to think about cloud CRM. It should be up in the cloud. And he evangelizes. He created a villain, which is on-premise software-based CRM. He started a whole campaign, no software. He had a fake protest at Siebel Systems conference in San Francisco, and he evangelized for 20 years every day, cloud, right? And so the whole point about all of these things, but what's the big lesson here, is that in your business, whether you're a marketer or founder, get away from forcing a comparison. Hey, we're really good. Our gizmo is this much better. We're this much faster, etc., because that confuses the customer, and you're not going to create value there. You get into this transactional framework of how can we position our features better? What's the messaging and everything, right? The bigger thing is, how do you change language? So you don't want to force a choice. You don't want to force a comparison. You want to force a choice. So when Mark Benioff came in and said cloud CRM versus on-premise software-based CRM, he wasn't making comparison. He was forcing a choice, which is either we do this or we do that, right? So my big takeaway and lesson for the week for you all, from all these fantastic books, I recommend getting these, right? Get the physical books. These will live in your bookshelf, and I promise you, look, you'll go back to these and mark these up a lot. How do you look at your company? Are you evangelizing a problem? Have you identified a category, something new, something novel to get attention? Because psychologically and evolutionarily speaking, we are primed to look for things such as changes in the clouds, changes in the grass, because that change means it could be imminent to our survival. That same thing is true when it comes to business. So don't be better. Find ways to be different. And that's how you can, have these wildly successful exits like these companies. So those are your books of the week. That's your lesson of the week. I hope you like this new format. I'm going to try it a little bit more. Leave a comment below, and if you're interested more in category creation, I interviewed the one of the co-founders of Play Bigger, Al Ramadan. You can check the links below for that podcast. So, as always, happy Wisdom Wednesday. I hope you're staying safe out there, and as always, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.